your 56 messages, and they're more like stalking than lobbying. Looking back, aren't you at least a little bit embarrassed about the way you behaved?
As I said, it was a particularly acute time in the British economy. The government was introducing plans to try and help businesses. We thought we had a good idea. I was keen to get it in front of government. But as I've said, there are lessons to learn and lessons for me to learn. And in future, the single formal email or formal letter would be appropriate. But It was a particular, I think it's easy to forget now just what a sort of time of economic shock it was.
Many of us don't forget there were thousands of people dying at the time and the country was in a serious situation. Now, you've said your role at Greensill was as an advisor. Did you ever write to NHSX describing yourself as a director of the company?
I think there was an email which I've seen where I think I described Bill Carruthers as a fellow director, and it was a mistake. And if that's the one you're referring to, that was a mistake. I wasn't a director of the company. I was an advisor, and as I said, I didn't sit on any of those sort of subcommittees of the board that are so important to a company like that.
Did you do the same in writing to counterparties in Australia? Describe yourself as a director.
I don't believe I did, no.
Will you undertake to check your records and keep the committee informed of the outcome of a check that you do on that?
Of course.
Thank you very much. Mr. Greensill told me that you had a standing invite to board meetings and that you attended regularly. You've said today you attended regularly, and that you had a lot to say at some of those board meetings. Do you know what a shadow director is under Section 2511 of the Companies Act 2006? And are you aware of the consequences of you being found to be a shadow director?
Well, I am aware. I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding of this is the shadow director issue is when you have a company that has a board, but the real person controlling that company is actually not on the board. And that is what the concept of the shadow director is. And in my case, there's absolutely no question that I was in any way controlling this company while not being on the board. So I don't think that applies to me at all.
Okay. At the time you started your incredibly frenetic lobbying of the Chancellor, were you aware that BaFin, the German regulator, had given Greensill instructions to reduce their loan concentration to Gupta?
I don't believe that I was, but again, I may have to check the records, but
So
I don't.
That wasn't discussed at the meetings that you attended, the board meeting?
I don't believe so, but I can certainly go back and check. I mean, I think it's an important question. What was the closest board meeting before the pandemic struck? And I don't recall off the top of my head, but I don't remember that, but I don't want to give an inaccurate answer.
So again, perhaps you could check and get back to us about that. Were you aware that most of the coronavirus interruption business loans made by Greensill Bank were to Gupta names and friends, which is actually increasing Greensill's concentration and exposure to Gupta rather than reducing it?
Well, as I said, I wasn't on the credit committee, so I wasn't responsible for extending any credit, any loan to any client, including Mr. Gupta. So I didn't know about the exact nature of those loans, no.
And these things weren't discussed at the board's meetings that you attended? I mean, did the credit and committees not give reports at the board of directors? Would you not have heard some of that while you were attending board meetings?